Luka is a crybaby. That's how I'm gonna start. As a Mavs fan, I think we're all a little burned out on Luka's constant on-court antics, constantly complaining about being fouled. It's like, dude, it's not a foul every time you touch the ball. So we're not gonna miss that part of it. And good luck, Lakers. Maybe you can fix it. Maybe it doesn't need to be fixed. I don't know, but good luck with all that. It's not like he played defense anyway. It's just, he was just another in the way dude on the other side of the court. If he even made it back to the other side of the court, because half the time he's whining to the refs at the offensive side about some foul and leaving his teammates to play 4-on-5 on the flip side. Anyway, that's not the point I wanted to make, because this trade is about one guy, Nico Harrison, and a brand new shiny Mavs ownership who are gambling warlords who could give two shits about basketball. You know who else doesn't give two shits? Big corporate fantasy sites. You know, the ones with all the idiotic experts and useless content and clunky analysis tools that are stupid expensive that don't help you play any better. But you know who does give a shit? And a lot more? Lineup Theory, your fantasy football AI sidekick. With Lineup Theory, you'll be the smartest player in your league, and everyone will fear and loathe you and want to steal your secrets. So if you're ready to make smarter lineup decisions faster in 2025, go to lineuptheory.com and join the waitlist. Launching in July. Go now! Or wait, stay here, finish this Luka rant, and then go. I'll leave the link in the description. Now back to content. So I don't necessarily think it was a bad decision to trade Luka. I just think there had to be a reason, right? There had to be something that even took them down the road to thinking about it. And I don't know if this has been on Nico Harrison's mind since he got to the Mavs, but he had to be thinking about it for a while before executing it. And he wasn't going to be able to do it with Mark Cuban as an owner, because Mark Cuban would never allow it. But now with the new ownership, only there for not even a full year yet, and Luka's gone. I don't think that's such a coincidence. It must have been on his mind for a while, and maybe since he got here. But that's not really what irks me about it. It's just the way they went about it. It was the shadiness of it all. I think everyone in the NBA agrees that Luka is a top 5 player. He's a superstar, right? He's a legit superstar that any team out there would build around. And he's still young, and he still seemingly has his best years ahead of him. And then all you get in return is a very great player in Anthony Davis. No knock on him. He's a great player. Top 10, perhaps, still. But that's all you got. Like, you didn't even shop him. Like, you didn't even ask around for what you could get. Could you get a better deal? Could you get an Anthony Davis-like player and also a bunch of first-round picks for Luka? I mean, you effectively traded Luka, who does get injured quite often. He's injured at least once every season and misses some games, for a player who's oft injured, who's about 10 years older, and who Charles Barkley refers to as street clothes, which is a fair nickname for Anthony Davis, because he is hurt a lot and he's in street clothes a lot. And we saw it. He played his first game as a Maverick and played 2 amazing quarters. And it's like, man, the Mavericks maybe this was a good idea to trade him to win now. And then like the third quarter gets hurt and now he's gone for who flipping knows how, because he got somebody poked him in his little rib cage and now it's all bruised and he can't move, or some dumb shit like that. I mean, imagine that you're the Lakers GM. You're just sitting there on a Friday night, 9 p.m. You're probably naked from the waist down, slathered in mayonnaise, smoking a cigar, doing lines of coke off a stripper, whatever rich people do. And the phone rings and it says Nico Harrison at the top. And he's like, oh, I wonder what Nico wants to talk about. And he picks it up and Nico's like, hey, what do you want for Luka? And he's like, whatever you want. Take whatever you want. You want LeBron, you want Anthony Davis, you want all of them? Take them all. take whatever you want. And Nico was like, I'll take Anthony Davis and a couple of your spare parts. And, you know, like a future, like a 2030 fifth round pick in the draft. I mean, why? You're the Lakers, you're not doing nothing. You're not doing any work. And Luka just falls in your lap. And as a Lakers fan, that's how it seems to go with y'all. The players just fall in your lap. Because whatever. The fucking Lakers. Seriously. The fucking Lakers. You're going to give them the superstar of the future, of the now and the future, for a former superstar who's on the back nine of his great career. Really? Really? So there's all sorts of conspiracies here in Dallas about surrounding this freaking trade, fucking fleecing of the Mavericks, whatever you want to call it. This idiotic decision by a manager who used to be CEO for a giant corporation. The first one is that Nico has a secret heart-on for the Lakers and is a fan of them and wants to make them better so they can win a championship with Luka or whatever, which is stupid. That's a dumb reason. I don't think that's valid. The second one is since the ownership group are gambling warlords, which they are, that's what they made their money. That's how they made their money. They're flipping multi-billionaires off the backs of casinos. Is that the billionaire ownership group wants to implode the Mavericks, like trading Luka and just getting rid of it and poisoning the fan base here in Dallas enough that it gives him leverage to move the team to Las Vegas, where he can build a stadium, he can build a big casino right next to it, and live out his NBA gambling dreams in Vegas. But I don't think any of that is true. Time will tell if that one in particular is true. But I think the real reason is it's twofold. Nico Harrison has always had his eye on Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, putting them two together to build around. And now he's made it happen. And I think the only reason that he didn't make it happen when he first got here is because Mark Cuban wouldn't allow it. And since Mark Cuban is out of the way and not making those types of financial decisions about who to sign and who to let go, he was free to do it because, again, the gambling warlords, the billionaire, whatever the fuck his name is, don't give two shits about basketball, doesn't give two shits about winning. He only cares about making money. And he only cares about building his grand vision of a fucking casino around this NBA team. And so he's just here in Texas because gambling is becoming legal everywhere. And he wants to get ahead of it and be well positioned for when he convinces our politicians to legalize gambling in Texas so that he can build a giant casino in the middle of downtown Dallas. But aside from that, I forgot where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought. So I think it's twofold. It's like Nico Harrison had the right conditions to trade Luka. He's always had a hard-on for Anthony Davis. And with the new ownership, it made it easier to trade. But the second part of that is I think that the Mavericks, the front office, the team, whatever, whoever's, managing the team, are concerned / tired of Luka being out of shape. So I think that there's a work ethic issue with Luka. And it shows up on the court because he always seems to come into the new season overweight, out of shape, and he has to spend the first quarter of the season just getting his legs under him, which leads to injuries, which leads to sloppy play on the court. And when he gets injured, he tends to not take care of himself through the injury. So there's rumors that he drinks too much beer, that he doesn't eat right, that he doesn't train, that he doesn't listen to anyone that tries to get him to change the way he goes about things to keep his body and his mind and his skills sharp for when it comes time to play on the court. And when you compare that across like former players like Kobe, when you compare it to Kobe, like you put Kobe and Luka together, Kobe was he had a very strong work ethic, like transcended even the work ethic. Like it was ridiculous how much work he put into just being a better basketball player and keeping his body and mind in shape so that he could perform his best on the court. And he cared about winning, and he cared about being a champion. And you compare that to Luka, and Luka is kind of more like Shaq in that, if he were to put in that Kobe-like effort, that he's a top 5 player now, that could propel him into the top 3, maybe even to the top 1, and who knows what the ceiling is that if he would just apply a little bit more effort to his off-the-court training, that he would be a much better player and might not have been traded away. So I think that's really the primary driving reason. But they haven't said it. Nico Harrison has not said those specific words. And maybe it's for good reason. Maybe he doesn't want there to be any bad blood or like poison Luka's career going forward, that he doesn't have the right work ethic, and then it taints his value and nobody wants him. And you don't want to talk smack about one player, a player that has performed really well for you over the years. I mean, they were in the NBA Finals last year, and due in large part to Luka, which also makes this trade even more insane. It's like you have essentially the same team that you had last year, only slightly better with Klay Thompson and a couple of other pieces that you got in the offseason, and you want to trade away the centerpiece in the middle of this season? I mean, you're still in the hunt for a playoff spot. Luka's on the way back. He's already played for the Lakers. And, his typical self complaining to the referees on the other end of the court while the other team goes down and dunks on him. So that's why we're just trying to wrap our head around, like, why would you trade him? Even if you had those complaints about him, don't you think it would be better to try and work with him? I mean, even if you had those types of complaints about him, if you did have a problem with his work ethic and you were worried about him not realizing his full potential and him turning into an oft-injured, just has-been superstar that plays maybe half the season, and the other half of the season he's hurt because he doesn't keep himself in shape, or that he doesn't live up to his full potential of being that top 3, top 1 player, and it's going to hurt your chances of winning a championship throughout his run, and you're going to be in this constant battle with him. Even if those things were true, I think it would be a lot easier to work with him to try and fix those problems, because youth is very forgiving, and people who are young in their 20s still tend to feel like they're indestructible, so they don't need to work as hard. He just falls back on his skills. Happens a lot. But as you get older and you realize that taking care of your body is more important, every single year that you get older, if you want to have a long, healthy career, that you have to eat right, you have to train, you have to keep your weight down, blah, 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 all that crap, is that it could change in the future. Like, it could just come to the realization that I need to do this better and, take the steps to actually do it. And I mean, all of this isn't to disparage Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis is a great player. I'm happy he's here. The first 2 quarters that he played with the Mavericks, holy shit. Looks like if he plays like that, and if we make the playoffs somehow through all the injuries, and if he plays like that and he's able to come back and play in the playoffs, holy shit, watch out, because these guys are good. So maybe Nico Harris will be praised, in a couple of years. The Mavs are holding up a trophy or whatever. Excuse me. Mavs are holding up a trophy or whatever. And Nico Harrison, they're lifting him up, and, they're spraying him with champagne, and strippers are putting their titties in his face, and, live happily ever after. So really the bottom line here is, I think I'm done being mad at the Mavs for trading my favorite player away. Because I think that you have to separate the decision, like how you came to the decision, from the actual outcome. And that's the part that's missing for us, is that I think that if they would have traded him, or they would at least let it known that they were trying to trade him, despite people are going to be upset, regardless of how you do it, they're going to be pissed because that's our guy, that's our superstar. Is that if you would at least told people, either after you did it, like right after you did it, give a justification for it, inform the fans, still going to be pissed, doesn't matter, but if you give us a little bit of explanation, at least like you care that we stick around, would have made it a lot easier. Instead of doing this draconian thing of, banning fans from bringing signs into the game, that harmless signs, just fire Nico, like your typical fan backlash protest stuff. Instead of taking those steps to be this authoritarian regime, which, by the way, all companies, all businesses are authoritarian. They have the rule. They're monarchs. They're whatever. What they say is go. You have no say in it whatsoever. And it makes it even worse that Mavs Stadium, American Airlines Center, was subsidized by taxpayer money. That's technically our fucking stadium that we built for Mark Cuban, and now he's handing it over to his billionaire owner buddies who gave him billions to play for the team. That you're getting kicked out of a stadium that you paid for by some goddamn corporate gangster. Fuck that. All they needed to do was give us an explanation. If they would have said, Luke's too fat, he's too out of shape, we're tired of dealing with it, we don't see any hope of him changing in the future, that's why we traded for him, and we got an exceptional player that we think we can win with now in the next few years, and that was our decision. We made that decision. Like, that's sound reasoning, I think. You have a player, he's a superstar, yes, but you're projected out a few years, and you think that he might be in a downslide because he doesn't take care of his body, blah, 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 blah. Just give us that explanation. Just tell us that. The decision is sound. And then you separate the decision from the outcome. However it turns out is fine. Maybe Anthony Davis, that's the only 2 quarters he plays for us. Maybe he's injured the rest of the time. Who knows? Maybe Luka goes on to win 15 championships with the Lakers. Can't never tell these things. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe Anthony Davis has 5, 10 more years in him, and the Mavericks win multiple championships through that. And then Luka does realize his fat vision, his fat Elvis, flipping, pill popping, sitting on the toilet because he's got constipation all day, and then, falls face first into a plate of spaghetti and slides down the river in a couple of years. Because he's got heart disease or something because all he eats is hot dogs and drinks beer. So the outcome of the decision has yet to be determined. So it's that piece that's missing. It's that explanation that I don't think we're going to get anytime soon. I mean, it may be a few years before they actually say it, what it actually was that triggered them to pull the trigger on the trade. But I've stopped being mad at the Mavs and Nico Harrison, because I think that we owe him at least a little bit of trust. Because he did put us in the NBA Finals last year. He built a roster that was capable of winning a championship. And they've had a pretty good run since he's been here. A lot of that is due to Luka, but he was able to get Kyrie to come here when it's been a real struggle for this team to get superstars in the past. I think we owe him a little trust. And so I'm not going to be mad at him, regardless of the outcome. I do think that he could have done it better. They could have handled the situation better. They could have given better explanations. And they shouldn't have gone draconian on the fans of banning them from the games. And dude, it just gives evidence to the conspiracy that they want to poison the fan base so they can move the team to Vegas. Good luck, Luka in LA. Screw you, Laker fans. I hope your team never wins another game. And I hope the Mavs win a few championships out of this. I think they better, or the fan base they're gonna revolt. They may burn that stadium down and cause them to move anyway to start the chance of sell the team. Because what are we gonna do after Anthony Davis? I mean, Kyrie and Anthony Davis are not young players. So what's next? what's next after 5 years? And is it another dark period of 20 years or so where we suck balls? I kind of feel that coming. Kind of feel it coming. So hopefully we can get a championship in the next few years with this crew. I've been Aaron. You have been watching Lineup Therapy. See you next week.